Hey guys, we're back and we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, grace. Where would we be without the abundance of God's grace? We've spoken about the grace that God has to give, and it is abundant and it can forgive anything. We've spoken about saving grace. Every one of us needs that. Every one of us begins our Christian race by submitting ourselves to God, as the passage that we've been focusing on says, putting our pride in our pocket and declaring our need for God's grace. Once we have received it, however, this abundance, it says that He gives us more grace, that this grace is given to the humble. And He says, submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. You see, there's more than just saving grace. There is sustaining grace. And there's a word out there called prevenient grace, which means that God has got grace stored up for you, that you'll never run out of it. God says no matter how much you sin, that even though you sin and you sin and you sin and you sin, grace will always abound. But let me clarify what Paul says. Never abuse God's grace. Don't go out and sin just thinking that, well, if I sin, it's cool, because God has got more grace that He can give to me. He has. He's got grace that is stored up, and you will never, ever run out of the grace of God. God's grace is not like an insurance policy, where we mess up or we have something mess up and we claim on our insurance. And then you claim again, and you claim again. But eventually you get a letter from the insurance company that says, hey, you've run out now. You've run out of insurance opportunity because you become a bad risk. And you better go and find another insurance company. God's grace is not like that. You'll never get a message from God to say, listen, your quota has expired of grace. There's no more grace for you. You've utilized it so much that there's no more. And God says, my grace is abounding. That where sin abounds, grace abounds even more. Go and check that one out. It's a great promise from God that no matter how bad your sin becomes, God's grace is good enough. But be warned, people. Please be warned. Don't take it lightly. Don't abuse God's grace. Don't use it in a stupid kind of a way, because God may well be saying, listen, that's your pride coming back, that you think you can use me. You can't use me. So don't abuse God's grace. Use God's grace as an opportunity for new beginnings and new starts in life. Use God's grace to help you to become what God wants you to become and to do what God wants you to do. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But this abundance of God's grace is stored up for you more than you could ever. It's like going down to the sea where we live and take a bucket with you and say, well, I'm going to take a bucket of the water out the sea and I'm going to empty the sea. You're never going to empty the sea. As you empty it, more comes. As you empty that, more comes. You will never empty the ocean with a little bucket. You can't do it. Kind of like a silly analogy, but it's kind of like that with God's grace. It is so abundant, you will never run out. So here's a word to some of you today. Maybe you have drifted from God. This is devotional time for you to check out your own heart and make sure that you are where God wants you to be. Not always where you want to be, but certainly where God wants you to be. You may need to draw today upon God's stored up, prevenient grace that is stored up because God knows. He knows you. He knows you're going to mess up. He knows you're not always going to do well. But God has prepared this prevenient grace for you because He knows there will come a time in your life where you are going to need it. So don't be afraid to draw of it out of the ocean of God's great grace. Don't be afraid to dip your bucket in the grace and use it for forgiveness and fulfilling God's purpose in your life. So amazing is this, so much more grace that God has to give. He gives more grace. He gives it more abundantly every time. Just don't abuse it, because that would be mean, that wouldn't be cool, and that will never lead to God's blessing in your life. But you can enjoy it because it's there for you. Have a wonderful day, people. This is a great subject we're talking about. I get excited about it. I hope you do too. Have a good day. Bye-bye.